Yeah, George, do you mind starting again, please? Sorry.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Thanks.
Okay.
Sorry for the convenience. Yeah, so again, Joe, your background and how you got started.
Well, I am a Torontonian and proud to be so. And I'm a Torontonian by adoption. I was born in Italy, actually. I came at the age of 13, along with my parents and my family. And I tell people that at the age of 13, I spoke 2 words of English because of cinema and the movies, yeah and no. So you could say that I'm a product of the English as a second language instruction in this city, in this country. This is an example of we have an amazing city that allows immigration to occur, knowing that those who are different add value. So therefore, I'm grateful to have been welcomed into this city, and I like to think, like most other immigrants, we've contributed and made this place an even better place to be. For the last 6 years, I've been deputy mayor of the city of Toronto, and I'm very much proud of the work that we've done here in order to make sure we have a great place to live in Toronto. And one of the things I'm most proud of, for example, is the fact that 11 years ago, in 1999, I became the city's tree advocate. In those days, people didn't speak about trees. Now everybody does, which is a great thing. And in 1999, the city of Toronto, as an example, was planting 9,500 trees per year. Now, 11 years later, thanks to the efforts that I've led, we're planting 100,000 additional trees per year, which is obviously greatly improving our urban area, because trees are there for all sorts of reasons. They remove pollutants out of the air and put in oxygen. They provide beauty. They provide habitat for birds. They cool the city in the summertime and save us energy and saving, the Mother Nature. So, but obviously I've done more than that, and I'm proud to say so.
That's good. Joe, so you're known as an environmentalist. What are some of your plans for a greener city?
Well, I think Toronto is a great city. We always led the way, if you will. I am proud to have led not only the tree advocacy program, but also the Mayor's Roundtable on the Environment between 2003 and 2006. I was the chair. The Toronto Green Roofs bylaw, I led that. And that's interesting because something like 20% of the surface of the city is roof area. So it can either be negative, if you will, or it can be part of the solution. Green roofs, solar panels, that's part of the solution. And also chair the exhibition place where they have North America's first urban wind turbine, which is became a poster child, if you will, for renewable energy. I think Toronto needs to do more because obviously we're not quite there yet. And part of the objective that I support and I've tried to implement and will do more in the future is to make sure that we achieve the Kyoto targets, about 80% greenhouse gas emission reductions based on 1990 levels by 2050. And I think we can do it, and by figuring out how we do it ourselves, we're also showing the rest of the country and the world that how to do it. Emulation is a way to go. So that's part of my plan.
So Joe, what's talking about transportation? It's a major issue in this election. Do you favor expanding the subway, or do you favor above ground tracks in complete sentences?
Well, moving Toronto is essential. All of us have to move because we go to school, we go to work, and come from, go to the doctor, whatever. As a matter of fact, we have congestion is one of the major problems in the Greater Toronto Area and the City of Toronto. The OECD calculated that in last year that we're losing something like $3.2 billion a year because of congestion. So we have to move people. The best way of moving people is through transit. In other words, more subways, more streetcars, more buses on their own right of way, etc. Because that is the best way of achieving economic efficiency, quality of life. It's not much fun to be stuck in traffic. And also in terms of the climate change imperative, which we must do. I personally favor whatever the transit system is to be on its own right away. Whether it's underground or above ground, it's important, but it's not that crucial. One of the differences between having a subway, which is the best route, and a streetcar is that if you have limited money, you can get 10 kilometers of streetcars in their own right away for every kilometer you can get a subway. And given the fact that money is short, that's why we're going primarily for streetcars on their own right away. You get more for your dollars, and you move more people in more places.
Yeah, that's good. So some candidates want to sell off city assets or bring the private sector into things traditionally done by the government. What is your opinion on this?
My opinion, it's wrong. You know, if we have a Toronto Hydro, if we have assets, you know, it's because our predecessors left them for us in the expectation we will leave them for future generations. You shouldn't be selling your patrimony. You know, you shouldn't be selling the car so you can afford the gasoline. You know, it's short-sighted. Take the Highway 407. You know, the provincial government effectively sold it, long-term lease, and motorists are paying all the time. Toronto Hydro, for example, doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because first of all, the investment bankers will take about 8% of that. So there goes $80 million to investment bankers, you know, out of your pocket and mine, in fact, because we own Toronto Hydro. Secondly, Toronto Hydro, as an example, last year led us to use 3% less energy than the year before, partially because of the economy, partially because they're into conservation. You know, in other words, they want us to use less energy, which is good for the pocketbook and good for Mother Nature. Well, because it's a public interest and that's the public good. If you sold it to a private company, they will not necessarily be interested in that. Their interest is the bottom line. Tell me one private company that wants you to buy less of their product. You know, obviously it's not going to happen. And using more energy, frankly, is against societal interest. Not to mention the fact that electricity, it's in every home, every business, every school, you know, on the outside, everywhere. So to keep energy costs low, it's a societal interest, you know, in your own home budget as well as business budget. And by keeping those costs low, which only the government can do in effect, because our interest is not the bottom line, so to speak, then what will happen is basically we're all better able to have better quality of life in terms of getting more jobs and getting more affordable housing costs, because energy is a housing cost.
That's good. Some candidates in this race are coming from outside of politics. They're saying that they'll bring fresh perspective, and they're trying to portray experience as a negative. Why is this way of thinking wrong? In complete sentences, please.
Well, the idea that if your inexperience is better doesn't make any sense. I mean, imagine if there was some problem in your own body. Would you want somebody an experienced doctor, you know, doing surgery on you? Would you want somebody who's well-meaning but inexperienced? The City of Toronto is the 6th largest government in the country. We spent over $11 billion between capital and operating budget. We have 45,000 employees. We provide every service you could think of that makes life worth living in Toronto. Police, fire, ambulance, transit, roads, libraries, parks, forestry, recreation, you know, water and sewage, public housing, social assistance, childcare, all this stuff. You know, it's 11, you know, so you need to have experience in order to be able to run it properly. To have inexperience means that you're going to do things by trial and error. You know, and frankly, you're going to have a few errors. The only difference is that when you have 2.6 million people, will be suffering your errors. That's why there hasn't been anybody elected for mayor of the City of Toronto since 1902. 108 years ago was the last time somebody who was not a member of City Council got elected mayor, because Torontonians in their wisdom have realized that experience is worth a lot. Inexperience, it's okay if you want to learn on the job. It's okay if you do it on your own dime. It's okay if you're doing it on your own body. But if you want somebody to deal with this living organism that is Toronto, you better have experience, because it requires tender love and care, not trial and error and perhaps a great deal of error.